The ancient ruins of Baalbek in modern-day Lebanon might be the most compelling evidence of an advanced ancient civilization missing from our history books. This monumental complex, with its immense megalithic stones, some weighing over 1,000 tons, defies any explanation through the lens of conventional archaeology. Baalbek is situated in northeastern Lebanon, approximately 60 miles from Beirut, making it a somewhat challenging destination to reach in present times. Perched 3,000 feet atop a sacred hill in the fertile Bekaa Valley, long before the Romans conquered the area and erected their monumental temple of Jupiter, and even before the Phoenicians built a temple to the god Baal, Baalbek was home to the largest stone block construction ever discovered in the world. The mainstream narrative about Baalbek's history is one of Roman ingenuity. The Temple of Jupiter, one of the largest temples in the Roman Empire, still stands as a testament to the power and reach of Roman architecture. However, beneath the Roman construction lies a series of enormous megalithic stones, known as the trilithons, which form part of the foundation of the temple complex. These trilithons each measure over 19 meters, 62 feet, in length, 4.2 meters, 14 feet in height, and 3.6 meters, 12 feet in thickness, and weigh approximately 900 metric tons, making them one of the largest stones ever moved, lifted, and stacked in human history. To put this into perspective, each stone is roughly 36 times the weight of the stones used to construct Stonehenge and approximately 10 times the weight of the largest stones used in the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Despite their immense size, these stones were somehow transported from a quarry located over half a mile away and raised to a height of 30 feet, or 9 meters, on top of these smaller 400-ton blocks to form part of the foundation of the Heliopolis complex, upon which the Temple of Jupiter was later built. The precision with which these stones were cut and aligned is extraordinary, as they fit together almost seamlessly, with gaps so narrow that not even a piece of paper can fit between them. Unlike typical Roman construction, which focused on grandeur and aesthetics in visible structures, the trilithons were not designed to be seen. They were buried within the foundation, hidden from view, and seem to have been laid out primarily for structural purposes. This raises the question of why a civilization would go to such lengths to move and position these massive stones only to bury them. There isn't any historical documentation from the Romans detailing how they achieved such an architectural feat. The Romans, renowned for their meticulous record-keeping, documented nearly every major construction project they undertook. Yet there is no Roman account explaining the process of moving these immense stones or how they were incorporated into the foundation of the Temple of Jupiter. Furthermore, the different construction methods evident at Baalbek, ranging from the finely crafted megalithic stones at the base to the more rudimentary stonework of the Roman structures, indicate that the site may have gone through multiple phases of development, with the earlier phases being of a higher technological standard. Moreover, according to historians, the largest Roman cranes could only lift 60 metric tons, making it highly improbable that they moved stones weighing 900 tons or more. Additionally, the Romans used to drill Lewis holes in the stones to be able to lift them with their cranes. However, the trilithon stones do not seem to contain any Lewis holes. But if no known Roman engineering technique explains how these stones were moved or positioned with such precision, who built Baalbek's original foundation? The trilithon shows evidence of wind and sand erosion that is not seen in the Roman construction, suggesting they could have predated the Romans for thousands of years, with some researchers like Graham Hancock believing the trilithon is around 12,000 years old, predating Roman construction by around 10,000 years. This is not a simple guesswork, as there are archaeological signs of continuous habitation at the site as far back as 9000 BCE. This means that whoever the actual builders were, they are entirely unknown to us and our established historical records. But the trilithon stones are just the beginning. On this side of the Temple of Jupiter, there's another giant megalithic work with this enormous block that weighs around 800 tons. Just compare the size of the block to the tourists nearby. Right next to it is the South Megalithic Wall, where there are numerous such blocks with flat surfaces. Look at the perfect fitting between them. Some of the fittings are even at an angle, making the megalithic wall even more impressive and sophisticated. This is clearly the work of a far superior civilization than the Romans, Greeks, or Phoenicians. Even a child can see the clear difference between the superior megalithic construction at the foundation and the inferior Roman work built on top. If we look closer at the surface of the giant stone blocks, we can see these strange parallel scratches. They can be seen in different parts of the complex on various megalithic stone blocks. We can also see them on the trilithon stones themselves. These scratch marks have lengths of around 3 meters or 10 feet and are perfectly parallel. This means they could not have been made with primitive tools. Moreover, the marks look more like some kind of machine marks. If you've watched our documentaries before, you'll probably notice that these marks are similar, if not identical, to the marks left on other prehistoric megalithic sites, such as the Yangshan Quarry in China, which consists of this gargantuan megalithic block estimated to weigh 16,000 tons. As you can see, the Yangshan Quarry in China has the exact same tool marks that are seen on the massive stones at Baalbek. Similarly, in the ancient city of Petra in Jordan, tool marks that closely resemble those on the Yangshan blocks have also been identified. The marks can be seen in the prehistoric parts of Petra, which were created thousands of years before the Nabatean kingdom settled the city in the 4th century BC. Shockingly, comparisons with modern machinery reveal striking similarities in the striations produced by contemporary mining equipment, which suggests a level of sophistication in ancient tooling methods that parallels modern technology. Does this mean that the prehistoric civilization that built all of these gigantic megalithic sites had some kind of advanced technology similar to our modern machinery and heavy equipment? An independent alternative Russian scientific research center called LAH, meaning Laboratory of Alternative History, studied the Baalbek megalithic complex in detail and discovered numerous tiny machine marks on various parts of the structure. You can visit their website to see for yourself. And if you don't know Russian, you can auto-translate the site. They show the remarkable precision of the south megalithic wall of Baalbek and photograph the perfect fitting of the blocks, where we can see that the marks near the edges are even more unusual than those we discussed. They look so precise and miniature that they would be nearly impossible to make with rough tools. Even more astonishing are the edges themselves. If we zoom closer to the edges, we can see there's a miniature line going all along the boundary between the surface where the blocks meet and the bevel. This thickness of this line is less than 1/3 of a millimeter thin. It's unknown what kind of tool or machine made this line, but creating such a precise and thin line is impossible with primitive tools. At the edges of the blocks, there is a chamfer composed of multiple phases, and the shape of the chamfer is identical on both blocks. The facets have been crafted with near-jewelry precision, with some areas even polished. The quality and accuracy of the work are evident in this notch, which is precise down to a fraction of a millimeter. And take a look at this giant megalithic wall made of massive 800-ton blocks. Judging by the darkening on the surfaces of these blocks, it's clear that they are far more ancient than the Roman construction. Once again, we see remarkable precision in the fittings between the blocks. In fact, in some places, the joints are so closely fitted that you can barely see where the fitting is located. It's unknown how deeper underground this wall continues, as thousands of years ago, the ground level was much lower. This makes you wonder how the builders were able to transport, lift, and precisely stack these giant 800-ton blocks so perfectly at such a height. And in the entirety of the Baalbek complex, there are at least 40 such stones, all weighing around 800 to 1,000 tons. Many others may exist, but archaeological excavations have thus far not dug beneath all the sections of the complex. Right next to the Temple of Jupiter is the Temple of Bacchus. Once again, we can see gigantic stone blocks at the foundation. Stones weighing 800 tons fitted together with absolute perfection, where not even a razor blade can fit between the gaps, both vertical and horizontal. If you're not right in front of the structure, you probably won't even spot the fittings. But the gigantic stone blocks aren't the only prehistoric remains in Baalbek. If you visit the temples of Baalbek, the first thing that will catch your eye will probably be the large columns, especially those that adorn the Temple of Jupiter, which are the largest stone columns ever constructed in classical history. However, these columns are not prehistoric but the work of the Romans. These massive columns, standing at 65 feet or 20 meters in height, were constructed using limestone, which was quarried from nearby sources. But they weren't built as a whole, but were instead built in sections called drums, with each drum carefully carved and fitted together to form a seamless column. While the exact weight of each drum can vary depending on the specific dimensions, it's estimated that an individual drum could weigh as much as 50 tons, The enigma surrounding the Baalbek site deepens when one considers the purpose and origin of its massive megalithic blocks. While some argue that these colossal stones were moved using ramps, levers, and manpower, the sheer scale of the undertaking challenges this explanation. The complexity of the project suggests a knowledge of engineering and construction techniques far beyond what ancient civilizations are traditionally believed to have possessed. There are no definitive records to clarify the process, and as such, this has led some to propose that the builders might have used some form of lost technology, possibly even a type of machinery or energy source that we don't fully understand today. Researchers have pointed out that the precision with which the blocks were cut and placed suggests the use of tools and methods that would have been incredibly advanced for their time. For example, the edges of the stones are so finely worked that they fit together with millimeter-perfect precision. The fact that some stones display drill marks, smooth finishes, and even small, almost imperceptible holes that appear to have been drilled with a technology beyond the scope of hand tools raises further questions. Many believe these signs point to the possibility that the builders used machinery or specialized equipment that modern archaeologists have yet to fully comprehend. Some theorists have suggested that the construction of the Baalbek site may have involved the use of a form of sonic levitation or anti-gravity technology. This idea is often connected to theories about ancient civilizations possessing advanced knowledge of energy and vibration that was lost over time. Ancient texts, such as those from India and Egypt, contain vague references to flying machines and the use of sound for both levitation and construction. Though this theory may sound speculative, it highlights the mystery surrounding the methods of transportation and placement of such immense stones. Despite the growing intrigue, mainstream historians and archaeologists maintain that the site was constructed over time by the Phoenicians and later by the Romans, but without acknowledging the potential involvement of a forgotten advanced civilization. The Romans certainly contributed significantly to the site's visible structures, such as the Temple of Jupiter and the Temple of Bacchus, and their engineering expertise is evident in the use of Roman arches and other architectural innovations. However, the megalithic foundation of the site remains a mystery, as it is far beyond the capabilities of even the most skilled Roman engineers. One of the main reasons for the continued skepticism about any ancient advanced technology or lost civilization is the lack of written records. If such advanced knowledge existed, it would likely have been recorded, passed down, or at least mentioned in the surviving texts from those ancient cultures. However, most of the ancient texts that we have today, including those from the Greeks, Romans, and Egyptians, offer little insight into the construction methods used at Baalbek or explain the origins of the massive stones used in the foundations. Moreover, the location of Baalbek itself may offer some clues. The site is strategically placed within the fertile Bekaa Valley, surrounded by mountains, and it has long been a place of religious and spiritual significance. Archaeological findings suggest that the site was revered by the Phoenicians, who built their own temples dedicated to gods such as Baal and Venus. The area was likely a sacred site even before the Romans arrived and constructed their grand temples. Many ancient cultures have used sacred sites for their most important and lasting constructions, often building upon earlier structures or reusing materials from older buildings. In addition to the stones at Baalbek, there are other ancient sites around the world that feature similar megalithic constructions, raising further questions about the global distribution of advanced building techniques. For instance, structures like Machu Picchu in Peru, the Great Pyramids of Egypt, and the megalithic sites of Sardinia and Easter Island share certain characteristics with Baalbek, such as the use of massive stones and precise masonry. Some theorists believe that these similarities suggest the existence of an ancient global civilization that spanned vast regions and may have possessed knowledge and technologies lost to time. As more and more researchers delve into the mysteries of Baalbek, the possibility of discovering an advanced lost civilization seems to grow ever more tantalizing. While the mainstream narrative continues to favor conventional explanations, the evidence at Baalbek points to something far more complex. The precision engineering, the use of enormous stones, the unexplained tool marks, and the sheer scale of the site all suggest that Baalbek might have been the work of a much older civilization with knowledge and capabilities beyond our understanding. As archaeological technologies advance and new discoveries are made, perhaps we will one day uncover the true history of this ancient and awe-inspiring site.